Record.
Okay, guys, now we're going to be talking about learning theories, which is one of the group 4 topics. Learning theories is all about when tutors are trained and taught how to effectively learn and then taught how to share these strategies with their tutees. A multiplying success effect will occur overall. So that's the fun topic that we're talking about today. And like I said, this is one of our group 4 topics. I'm sorry, group 5 topics. So yeah. Okay, so scheduled study time. So, how do students define success in college? It may be by earning a degree, transferring to a four-year university from a community college or like a two-year university, receiving a certificate of completion, or preparing themselves for the job market. I feel like a high school diploma could also um, be defined in this just because it helps you be successful in college because that's where you started. There are degrees of success, of course. Some students will not accept anything less than a B. Um, a B grade, while others are happy with a C grade. They always say C's get degrees, but not here. But it is an absolute certainty that no student would define success in a specific class as earning a D or a lower grade of like an F. Okay. Scheduling study time is a simple strategy that instructors can use so that students will, one, understand and make sense of how to spend quality time studying for classes, because it's important that we know how to study for classes and we set aside time in our busy schedules to do that. One of your CRLA topics that we talked about is time management. So it really just gives you a rundown of something like that. And then two is to implement this strategy, improve their ability to earn a passing grade. Yes, we want to earn a passing grade, but also it'll help us with fostering independence, and allowing yourself to build um, build on things that you already know when you schedule that time for yourself to just sit and learn things. Okay, so oh, so okay, so how does a student earn an A, a B, or a C grade in any class? Well, it starts by making sure you're taking good notes in your class, and it's notes that you can clearly see. Uh, your handwriting is important when this happens, and just being well aware of the material and studying it. Reviewing the text prior to your next class. It's always important to review before going in, um, and winging it, essentially. When you're reviewing stuff, you're just allowing yourself to be able to build on something that you already know. Participating in class discussion. It's super important that you're participating in discussing in your class because you may learn something from your peers that you completely missed in the chapter reading you were assigned, or they may learn something from you when you participate in discussions in class, as well as joining a study group. That's really good. Also, if you don't join a specific study group, studying with your friends is really good too, or classmates and peers. You're just bouncing ideas off of each other, and I feel like that's really beneficial when you're wanting to earn good grades in classes. Writing essays in stages, it's always important to break down something large like writing an essay. I remember in elementary school, they teach you like a brainstorming method and give you layouts for you to design your papers with like a paragraph, an introduction, and then like three body paragraphs, and then a conclusion paragraph. So it's important to break down writing essays into stages just to help yourself. And then doing plenty of research. Research is always important. You have a textbook, that's a huge resource for you. And you can research in that. Your professors are a resource where you can research through them. Yeah, stuff like that. So when do you overextend students? I'm sorry, but when do your overextended students find the time and place to do these good practices? Well, when college students are asked a certain question, the most common responses by far can be summed up in three words: when I can. That's why time management is super important. And like I said, in uh, we talk about time management as one of our CRLA topics, and it's just important to remember that you have to set aside time. But it is difficult because us college students are very busy with our little lives that we live. So the next slide is going to take us into just a little more, go a little more in depth about this. So yeah, okay. So it's going to be first, it exposes that many students spend an inadequate amount of time on a task. That is, they don't spend enough time studying. You don't realize it, but studying is super important. We talk about in the time management presentation, it talks about the Pomodoro effect, which is where you study for 25 minutes and then you give yourself a 5 minute break and then you do 25 minutes again and a 5 minute break and then 25 minutes again and a 5 minute break. So essentially you're repeating that cycle 3 different times and then allowing yourself a very long break after that. That's one way where you can give yourself more time to study, as well as it's beneficial if you study maybe 30 minutes of a topic every single day because you're building on it as you go. And that's another option, or like 1 to 2 hours every other day as well, just again to just build on that knowledge. So you have to spend time studying no matter what. It's a huge part of any degree that anybody plans on getting. And then secondly, it clearly reveals that many students have not organized their life in such a way as to create regularly scheduled study time. Some people aren't planners or organizers, and that's okay. But it is important to make sure that you're at least attempting to be that kind of person because organization of your life is key to like making time for things. Think about it. You make time to see your parents, probably. You make time for your significant other. You make time to eat. You make time to sleep, or at least I hope you're making time for those two things specifically. Uh, you just have to create a schedule where you can have time to study and allow yourself time to review any material that you need reviewed for exams. Because cramming at the last minute's not going to help you in the long run. So most colleges success experts advise that students should study 2 hours outside of class for every 1 hour inside of class. Thus, if a student is enrolled in 12 hours, they should be studying approximately 24 hours outside of class throughout the week. So, yeah. Okay, so priority number 1 is to encourage, even demand that students study more than 7 hours a week. That does sound like a huge ask and a big thing, but in all honesty, it's going to benefit you in the long run, so you might as well do it. One solution is to encourage students, no matter how many hours a week they are currently studying, whether it's 5, 15, 18. Some people can do 21. That's a lot. But it's just to try to encourage them to study 5 more hours. And hypothetically, if once you let's say you go to a class and like it's an hour long lecture and you realize you have like a good 2 hours outside of after class, like your brain is already set for that class. You can study for that class, so it's already all there. Um, but yeah, you just have to make sure that you're studying more than 7 hours a week if you want to retain the information and know what you're talking about. Okay, so how do students schedule regular, consistent study times? So when regularly and consistently put information in, it sticks. If you do this over time, and as it says regularly, it's going to be in there and it's going to eventually store itself into your long-term memory. And that also will help you when learning new things because you can retain new information and attach it to old information you already know. Learning theory scholars call this concept rehearsal. Um, if you're not sure what rehearsal is, just think about a play like they rehearse it over and over again until they're ready to do it opening day. We move information from short-term memory to long-term memory by review, review, review. Keyword there, review. If you want information to be stored in a different spot or in your long-term memory, you have to review it. And like I said, if you're learning new information that connects to something that you've already learned, you're allowing yourself to attach it, and that's helping your long-term memory as well. How better tutors, better mentors, better leaders, and better educators can be is through all of this. Wait. How better tutors, better mentors, better leaders, and better educators students study. That was crazy. So students study. What they do when they review is another issue. At this point, we simply want them to start studying regularly. So, like I said, just remind your clients that it's okay to study outside of class because we're college students and you're going to have to do that. It's what happens when you choose to go into higher education. Studying becomes a part of your life. So just make sure you're reiterating that to not only yourself, but your clients as well. And you can be a positive advocate to them for that and show them good study habits, which we teach you a lot of those in your CRLA training and through the ACTP modules. That way you can pass it on to your clients. Okay, so ceiling level and differential learning. So a student's ceiling level is as much as they can do or do as a result of the amount of practice and time they have put in. Limited time and practice means limited results. Okay. Okay, so like I said, a student's ceiling level is as much as they can know or do as a result of the amount of practice and time they have put in. So limited time and practice means limited results. So for example, let's say you're in a session with a client and they brought this material to you and you're like, okay, so did you go to class this week? And they're like, no. And then ask them, well, did you do the homework that was due this week? And they tell you no again. Um, and then if they ask, you can ask them, well, did you read any of the chapter that was meant to be read this week? And they tell you no. Essentially, at that point, it's like, why are they there? Don't say it like that mean, but like you can say like, it just doesn't make sense why they're in that session with you because maybe they're not understanding the content or comprehending what they're learning because they're not going to class. So it's another example would be like if you're learning a musical instrument, but you're only practicing it once a week for 5 minutes. That's not going to benefit you in the long run. If you think you're going to be Mozart at the end of it. So that's just a little bit about what that is about. And then it says differential learning recognizes that people have different aptitudes and interests, which means that some people need more time and practice than others in one subject and less time and practice in other subjects. So basically there's this thing called differentiated learning, and it's just talking about how not one size fits all and every student learns differently. And it's important to remember that not everybody studies the same. Not everybody practices things the same. So some people may need more time. Some people may need less time to do certain things, or maybe you need one time focusing on math, but less time in reading because you're better at reading, or vice versa. Having tutors think through ceiling level and differential learning, even in their own lines, will help foster patience and sensitivity to all students and clients. And that is it, guys. Just kidding, guys. My slides weren't ready working, so we have one more slide to do. So it's questions for tutors. These are just questions for you to think about and just sit and let them think on your mind. We'll have a quiz that goes with this PowerPoint, and these questions may pop up on there. So just really give them and take them into consideration. So some of the questions are, how is this relevant in your role as a peer tutor? Think of a subject that comes easily to you. Think of a subject that may take more time for you. And then how have your interests, aptitudes, and background knowledge impact how you study, and how much do you study? It's just things to think about yourself, just to see like where you're at and what you may need to work on. So now that is the end. So thank you.